Hello again, everybody. It's Trags, episode number 250 of Patriots Beat on the CLNS Media Network. Catch us at www.clnsmedia.com. Follow us on Twitter at PatriotsCLNS, and you can also follow us on Twitter at CLNS Media. Follow me on Twitter, of course, at Trags, Trags. Episode 250, that's a huge milestone, and who better to spend it with and share it with than the one and only former colleague Ryan Hannable, who I gave so much grief when I worked with him and Chris Price at WEEI. Welcome back, Ryan. Thanks for joining me.
It's an honor, Trags. I do miss those times we spent together. We had a lot of fun together, and it's sad not to be with you guys. It is.
It is. I would agree, and I'm sure if we were still together, we would all be arguing over who gets to write. Tom Brady not being at OTAs is a big deal because he's not working with the wide receivers. Instead, WEEI.com gets the privilege of having you write that story, which I know you're working on this week. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reported on Monday that both of those gentlemen would resume their absence, if you will, from OTAs this week after attending mandatory minicamp last week. Your take on the significance of Tom Brady not working with his new wide receivers? I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, say 3, 4, 5 years ago, if this happened, I wouldn't be surprised if Brady sort of threw his own little extra passing session with new receivers just because he knows how important it is to be on the same page. And there's a lot of new guys, not necessarily guys that came in this offseason, but guys like Kenny Britt, Philip Dorsett, guys that haven't had a full season with him. So anytime that they get with him in the offseason is vital, and they haven't gone that this year. So, with Edelman out the first 4 weeks, they're going to need guys that are new to the system to step up, and they need this experience with Brady, and they're not getting it right now. I mean, they got 3 days last week, which, things looked okay, but that's a passing camp. Like, let's see when the pads come on and they start running real plays against real defenses and say, Cordell Patterson's not on the same page as Brady on one play down the field and leads to an interception. Like, that could turn into a real thing in the regular season. And I just think that, Brady missing this week, and this extra time to work with these new receivers is a big deal and could actually show up in the first 4 weeks.
Well, and Jeff Howe of The Athletic brought this up last week, and other people have noticed as well, that Brian Hoyer running the offense is not Tom Brady running the offense. God love Brian Hoyer, and he's a very serviceable backup. He was successful with the Houston Texans and Billy O'Brien, of course. But Brian Hoyer running this offense is not Tom Brady. And, from some of the reports, and you've been down there, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but yep. Cordell Patterson running routes needs a little bit of work.
I would agree with that. He's great when he gets the ball in his hands as a kick returner, but he's got some trouble running routes, and his hands, aren't, Julian Edelman hands, that's for sure. So anytime that a guy like him gets to work with Brady, it's a good bonus. And I will say this, too. You brought up the Brian Hoyer point. They're different quarterbacks. I mean, the way that Brian Hoyer throws the ball compared to Tom Brady is a huge difference. I mean, Tom Brady has a ton of zip behind that ball, whereas Brian Hoyer, it's not as fast. It's not like a lollipop, but it takes some time to get there. And I noticed that a little bit last week, just a difference between Brian Hoyer throwing the ball and Tom Brady. So for some of these new receivers, it's a big difference going from Brian Hoyer to Tom Brady, and they're going to get a lot more Brian Hoyer this spring than Tom Brady, so maybe there's even a bigger adjustment come training camp when it is all Tom Brady. So all this leads to it's a big deal that Brady's missing this week, especially with the news of Edelman's suspension. I just thought that it's only 4 days, it's only a couple hours each day. It's not like they're asking him to go out to California for the week and being away from his family. It's just a couple hours a day. Any chance to get on the same page as the receivers that Tom Brady of old used to take. And so it just leads me to believe that things are just a little bit different down there.
Well, and we'll get to the Edelman suspension in just a bit, of course. But what can Tom Brady do? I know you're writing about it. What would you suggest, or what do you think the game plan is going to be for Tom Brady to make up for lost time with these guys?
It's a good question. I mean, I think we've heard the reports of him bringing, Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman, maybe even Chris Hogan to Montana for his usual workouts that he's done in the past. But he knows how those guys work. So what good does that do for Jordan Matthews, Kenny Britt, Sonny Michel, all these new guys? It doesn't really do much. So to me, I thought, this week would have been a perfect time to, go against what's happened this offseason, realize that, it is important to get this time. It is a thing that Julian Edelman could miss these games. So to take, 4 extra days and spend some time with these new receivers, get on the same page, run crossing routes, run out routes, run comeback routes, get on the same page, know where tell the receivers where they're supposed to be, where you like to throw the ball, and just get as many reps as you can. And that's what we've seen in the past. Brady staying late after practice, getting into some extra time with his receivers, and he did that last week. But there's only so much that can happen in a 3-day period. So I thought 4 days this week could make a little bit of a difference.
Okay, Julian Edelman getting popped 4 games for PED use, and I guess the reports are that the positive test came out actually several weeks ago, if not multiple months ago. First of all, I think the leak of this information certainly raises some eyebrows in terms of who was behind the leak and what this could mean for the future of Alex Guerrero working with the Patriots. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the number one sort of storyline that came with the suspension really wasn't Edelman actually getting suspended. It was the connection to Alex Guerrero. And obviously he got ahead of it with a statement, hours after, the report came down. And if I'm being honest, I know Alex Guerrero's had a shady past, but I really don't believe that he had anything to do with this. I think it was Edelman off on his own, working with somebody else. Tommy Curran, who's, on top of this case better than anyone, reported that Edelman hasn't really been full in on TB12. He just goes there, I think, a la carte, as Curran put it. So, obviously the national people and everyone around the country is probably going to point to, Guerrero being involved. I just don't see it. I don't think Guerrero and Tom Brady, for that matter, have anything to, gain with this. Like, they're not going to, their life depends on this post-Brady football career. So I don't think they're going to do anything that would put the brand in jeopardy. So my big take on the Guerrero side is I don't think he had anything to do with it.
I agree, because if anybody is going to be on their best behavior, given their past, given the scrutiny that he already knows he's under, it's Alex Guerrero. He's not about to sign off on anything that could come across as positive in a test or come across as untoward in terms of trying to skirt the PED rules of the NFL. There's no way. He's an intelligent guy. You say what you will about some of his practices in the past that have certainly come under criticism. It's well documented. Everybody knows about it. But if there's one guy that's going to stay on the straight and narrow, you would think during this whole process, it'd be Alex Guerrero.
Yeah, and not only does it affect him, but it affects Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady said that his life after football is the TB12 method, and just, imagine if Guerrero had something to do with Edelman's suspension, that TB12 brand is pretty much, that takes a huge hit.
I think it's gone.
Brady,
yeah,
I would agree that Brady's post-football career is probably over, with the TB12 method. He can't do what he planned to do. So there's just way too much risk involved. And like you said before, Alex Guerrero's, having, sort of a huge strike one against him. He's not going to do anything else to potentially have a strike two. So like you said, if anyone's going to be on their best behavior, it's Alex Guerrero. And so that's why, to me, I just don't see the two being connected.
What about the leak? Do you think that the leak is a significant aspect of the story?
I think it's a part of it for sure. I think that the timing was a little bit strange. I heard Mike Florio on our station and on Twitter, floating out the conspiracy theory that the Patriots leaked it as a way to sort of, nudge Brady to get to OTAs this week. Obviously, it didn't work, but there's only a certain number of people that know, about the positive test. And I would assume, the Patriots organization has, more than the league, I guess. So, and you have to also, look at where the report came from. It's two guys that are pretty close with the Patriots. And also the timing, it happened just after the media availability wrapped up last Thursday.
Right.
So to me, just, connecting the dots and, walking out of Gillette Stadium as soon as the news broke, it sort of just seemed like a coincidence to me that it happened, that it broke, 15 minutes after Tom Brady had just spoken. So maybe it was a, wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, you can have this, but just wait till we wrap up our stuff. So there's just too much, connecting of the Patriots to not totally dismiss that it was an inside leak.
Well, the other issue here, and I think the most significant issue, and I know several people have brought this up, there isn't supposed to be the release of a positive test until after the appeal by the player. And Edelman had not put his appeal in yet and found out through the Patriots that he had tested positive. Well, something's wrong here in the whole testing process where the team finds out that he actually tested positive, but the NFL is not supposed to release those positive tests until after the appeal. You follow where I'm going here, right?
Yeah, I do.
And I
think there is something to that. I think that's another layer to it.
Well, I think it's a huge layer to it. And if I'm the NFLPA, I'm pissed. I'm like, why does the team know? And why does the team hold the card over our player who is essentially abdicating his appeal rights? Yes, he gets to appeal, but once it's like when you're charged with, I'm going to use the extreme here, but when you're charged with murder, and even if you're off and found not guilty, people are going to associate you with the charge, not the final result of the jury, right?
Right. Exactly. And it just sort of speaks to the whole way that the NFL sort of approaches this. I mean, I forget who I was talking about, but, Major League Baseball, they, disclose what drug you tested for in the press release, and they put it right out there. Whereas
Sure.
The NFL, you don't even know what these players test for unless they say it themselves. So that just speaks to the whole system really being, pretty flawed, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, and Albert Breer had the news, I believe it was on Monday, that the NFL doesn't even know the people who do the testing for the NFL drug policy and the PED testing don't even know specifically what this was. It was undetermined. Well, if it's undetermined and you need more test results, fine, but don't make it available to the team that, hey, your player came up positive and we think it's a positive, but we don't know what the substance is. The whole system needs to be completely reworked, and some of this, Ryan, right, has to fall on the NFLPA for agreeing to this in the first place.
I would agree. I think that's probably, up at the top of their list of things that they would like to get changed is just this whole policy. I think that we've seen, there's been, a lot of suspensions with PED use in the last couple of years. And I think that, this case, like Edelman's case, sort of raises the question, why are we having the same policy? Why are we doing this? This needs to be changed. And I think you make a good point. It's on the NFLPA to get it changed. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's at the top of their list for the next CBA to get changed.
Speaking with the outstanding Patriots beat reporter and columnist for WEEI and WEEI.com, Ryan Hannable. Guys, I want to tell you about a new wellness brand for men. It's called 4Hims, 4Hims.com. Here's a problem. 66% of men lose their hair by the age of 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's just too late. It's easier to keep the hair you have than to replace the hair you've lost. There's a solution now I'm going to tell you about. It's a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. 4Hims.com. Thanks to science, baldness can now be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. There's well-known generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. We all know about those. Prescription solutions are backed by science. No waiting room, no awkward doctor visits. Save hours going to 4Hims.com. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See the website for full details. Guys, this would cost you hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. It's a great deal. Go to 4Hims.com/Trags. That's FORHIMS.com/Trags. Speaking again with Ryan Hannable of WEEI and WEEI.com. All right, we got to move on to Gronk. Traded, not being traded, on the trading block, not on the trading block. What was your read and your take of the lunacy of last Friday, Ryan?
I thought it just was sort of lunacy. I mean, To me, my gut from the beginning of when the news sort of came, floating around the internet was just the timing. It just made no sense to me. And they just wrapped up 3-day mandatory minicamp. Gronkowski looked great on the field. I just didn't see, why would you make a huge move like that at the middle of June? You look at, if you're going to trade Gronkowski, you're probably going to get draft picks for him. So why don't you do this before the draft? When you can get draft picks for that draft. If you're going to get draft picks for him, you're going to trade him for, the 2019 draft. And what good does that do right now when your window is so limited with Brady's age? And then also you look to the guys behind Rob Gronkowski at the tight end spot. You have Dwayne Allen, who really struggled to even stay on the field for the whole, 3 days of mandatory minicamp, limping around the whole time. Jacob Hollister, Will Tye, Troy Nicholas. You just have so many unproven names behind Rob Gronkowski. So how could you let a guy like him go and basically not get anything in return for this coming season? So the timing just made no sense. Where it was coming from, sure, there are some guys like, Jerry Thornton and Dave Portnoy who sometimes have some stuff with the Patriots, but for, by and large, they're usually just throwing, stuff against the wall. So, you looked at all the stuff that it was coming from, and sure, there was some smoke there, but when you took a step back and looked at the situation as a whole, it just didn't seem to make sense at all.
Here's my read on this. I think they, like Tommy Curran reported and other people have suggested, it's not the story that was off, it was the timing. And I do think Rob Gronkowski's,
yes.
I do think Rob Gronkowski was on the trading block. I do think his name was on the table in terms of players that the Patriots would consider moving for the right price in return. That didn't happen. I do think that Tom Brady was told about it and said, if that happens, I'm out. I don't think that's far-fetched. The whole closed-door meeting, I don't know if I'm buying that. That seems a little melodramatic. But to your initial point, Ryan, it's about the timing. And to me, this reeks of, again, somebody inside the organization trying to needle the player. You saw, the Edelman needle, perhaps directly or indirectly at Edelman and Brady. This could be a needle at Gronk that, hey, you want to act like a clown and do the things that you're doing off the field and make us and demand for more money and make us look silly. Well, here's a little needle to you. And that's what this reeks of to me. And I'm not saying I know anything for sure, but when you're putting the pieces all together, that's what it looks like to me.
To further on your point on the timing, do you remember that sort of random Adam Schefter report from April about Brady not being fully committed to the team for 2018?
Yep.
Like that came out of nowhere and didn't really seem to say anything at the time.
Yep.
But now taking a step back and looking at all the stuff that's happened since and sort of putting the pieces together, maybe that was from Brady to Schefter saying, hey, I could potentially not play. Like if you trade Gronk, I could potentially not play. And so to me, knowing what we know now, that Schefter report from April makes a heck of a lot more sense now than it did then, because maybe that was actually Brady's signal to the team saying, if you trade Gronk, I'm out. Like I can retire.
And you know what, Ryan? It's the first time I've heard of that. And I think there's definitely some legitimacy to that. There's really no way to confirm that because Adam Schefter's obviously not going to give up his source. And you have to put the pieces together. Maybe, when Brady does eventually retire when he's 68 years old, that story will come out that's exactly what went down, is that right before the draft, the Patriots said that we're seriously considering moving on from Gronk. We have these deals on the table with the Titans and the 49ers, which has been reported, and we're thinking about pulling the trigger. And Brady said, you do that, I'm out. And the reason the Patriots wouldn't do that is, if Brady is legitimately out, this team may or may not make the playoffs. Granted, the AFC East is still bad. It's so bad, right? I cannot remember. I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I cannot remember a division in pro sports as lopsided as the AFC East has been for the last almost 18 years now. Since the Jets won, right? Or the Dolphins won in 2008 and the Jets won in 2002. I cannot remember such a lopsided division in pro sports.
No, it's true. I mean, every year it seems like for the last 10 years, at the offseason talk is what team can challenge the Patriots the next season. And even in the offseason, it's not like any teams have really made huge moves in a single offseason that has sort of, sent the signal to the Patriots. It's just been the same old, sign a couple average players, make a couple high draft picks that really don't pan out, and it's the same thing over and over again. The Patriots just roll over the division. Sure, they lose, one or two games in the division just because the teams are so familiar with each other, and that just happens. But, there's no competition. When's the last time that the divisions actually, mattered, come late December? Really never.
I'll tell you, a team that I think could make a big jump are the Jets. I really do think that if there's a team that's out there that made some moves and have some weapons that have always given the Patriots trouble, and I think if you believe in their whole coaching staff and their organization, and if you think Todd Bowles can get this team on the right path like they appeared to be 3 years ago, I don't know. Maybe the Jets are the biggest competitor in the division.
I like the Bills and Sean McDermott. I think he did a great job up there, turning the culture around. I think that maybe he needs a couple of years to sort of fully, get in there and have his whole hands on the organization. But I was pretty impressed with him, last year with how he did there. And I think you make a good point too with Todd Bowles. I think he's a good coach for the Jets. He's a serious guy. He's not going to goof around like some of the other guys that they've had. And he's again, putting his culture in there too. So, to the larger point, the division these teams have been so bad in the past that it's taking years and years for these new coaches to come in and change it around. And I think that just speaks to your point before of just how bad it's been for so long.
Well, I mean, with the Bills, they got rid of their left tackle, right? Cordy Glenn traded to Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. I just think with the Jets, you have a up-and-coming quarterback in Sam Darnold, and you still have a terrific defensive front. Led by Leonard Williams and, obviously guys like Brandon Copeland and Steve McClendon. I mean, you've got some pieces on the defense that I think are going to be very good. And in their corners, I think they've got a terrific young secondary. That's the team to me that's going to probably give the Patriots the most problems this year.
You could make a good point with that. I think that the Jets always seem to give the Patriots trouble, especially down there in New York, and I think even last year Brady had one of his worst games of the regular season there. So they always seem to give the Patriots trouble. And anytime say the Patriots have a tough start at 2-2, that just opens the door for the other teams in the AFC to sort of have that opening that they just haven't had in recent years. And it'll be interesting to see if the Patriots do have maybe not only the first 4 weeks, but say the first 8 weeks. Say that they're just say 5-3, and the door is open for the other teams. Do they pounce on it just because they haven't had the chance to pounce on the division in years past?
Well, that happened actually this year in New York when I believe the Patriots and Jets were both.
True, yeah, it was a battle for first place, right?
It was, and we all know what happened with that controversial call.
Yes.
At the end of the game, and it went the Patriots' way. So, and the Patriots took off from there. Hey, the weather's turning really good. And I know you are a scratch golfer, Ryan. What are you doing in terms of golfing this year?
I wouldn't say scratch. I'm
trying to build you up here, Ryan.
I'm working too much. If I wasn't working, I could get down to a single digit. But lots of golf, can only play so much once training camp rolls around in late July. So you got to get as much time as you can now until late July, because once late July hits, there's really no days off down there. So playing a lot of golf, try to get around as many courses as I can. Really good time to golf in New England. Do have a good trip planned in August down to Hilton Head, playing some courses down there. So that'll be fun. Works out nice for the Patriots playing Carolina that Friday night. So it'll be a good week down there.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you, as always, for joining us on a milestone episode 250 of the Patriots Beat podcast here on CLNS Media. I want to thank everybody again for downloading today's Patriots Beat. Thanks to Ryan Hannable, our terrific Patriots Beat reporter from WEEI.com. Follow him on Twitter. It's pretty simple, at Ryan Hannable, all one word. You can give us a follow at Patriots CLNS and at CLNS Media. Give my own personal account a follow at Trags. Today's sponsor, forhims.com. For Ryan Hannable, Patriots content manager Michael Angi, CLNS media executive producer Larry H. Russell, and the founder of the network, Nick Gelso. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. This is Mike Petralia, and this has been the Patriots Beat podcast, powered by CLNS Media.
What's going on, Pass Nation? This is Marvin Zahn of the CLNS Media Network, and I'm here to tell you right now to check out the CLNS Media New England Patriots postgame show hosted by myself and my co-host, Mr. Mike Nice. And live on CLNS Radio immediately after every single Pats game. Call in at 929-477-2386 toll-free to get your voice heard and contribute to the host breakdown and analysis of the latest Patriots contest. We also got the stars and sorries of the day, Twitter posts for the plays of the game, and everything else that is going on with the 5-time Super Bowl champions. Subscribe to CLNS Media New England Patriots postgame show on iTunes and Stitcher, and the best way, download the free CLNS Media Network mobile app for on-demand listening anytime, any place, anywhere.